What happens when the self-proclaimed star of women's basketball can't back up her trash talk? Just ask Angel Reese. Her recent performance in the Unrivaled League has fans and critics alike wondering if she's all talk and no game. Yes, it is unrivaled. It is also unwatched. Look, let's be honest, we can sugarcoat it all you want, but if you don't have Caitlin Clark playing women's basketball, or if you're not the NCAA tournament playing women's basketball, you got nothing. Zero zip, nothing. From a humiliating loss to Sabrina Ionescu to becoming the first player ejected in league history, Reese's journey is a masterclass in how not to be a professional athlete. And here's the reality. While Reese is busy making headlines for all the wrong reasons, the Unrivaled ratings are in free fall. With viewership barely hitting 100,000 per game, it seems fans aren't buying what Reese is selling. Is this the end of her reign before it even began? Let's break it down. Picture this. Angel Reese, the self-proclaimed queen of women's basketball, strutting onto the court like she owns the place. She's facing off against Sabrina Ionescu, and Reese is feeling herself. But little does she know she's about to eat her words in the most spectacular way possible. Let's set the scene. As usual, Reese is running her mouth like there's no tomorrow. A hot mic catches her trash-talking Ionescu's defense. Sabrina can't guard, she boasts. Oh, Angel, if only you knew what was coming. The game continues, and it's clear from the get-go that things aren't going Reese's way. Ionescu isn't just guarding, she's putting on a masterclass. It's like watching an Olympian take on a rookie. Oh wait, that's exactly what's happened. And Reese is looking more and more like the newbie with every passing minute. As the game unfolds, Ionescu's stats start piling up. Are you ready for this? 32 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. And get this, she does it all in just 19 minutes. That's not a typo, folks. 19 minutes. It's like Ionescu's playing on cheat mode while Reese is stuck in tutorial. Meanwhile, Reese is having a night she'd rather forget. Her shots aren't falling. Her defense? Well, let's just say it's about as effective as a screen door on a submarine. She's flailing, she's failing, and it's painful to watch. The gap between the teams keeps widening. Ionescu's Phantom Basketball Club is pulling ahead, leaving Reese's Rose BC in the dust. It's not even close. The final score, Phantom 75, Rose 63. But the real story isn't in the numbers, it's in what happens next. If somehow, some way, Angel Reese actually plays a competent, sound basketball game, her teams lose. Alright, I don't know why that is, but her unrivaled team is an unmitigated disaster, alright? A team that's got real talent on it. Kaylee Copper, Chelsea Gray, Angel Reese, wasn't she supposed to be the third one here? The three-headed monster, well, after the game, Ionescu could have gone for the jugular. She could have trash-talked right back, rubbed salt in the wound. But what does she do instead? She posts a simple LOL on Twitter. That's it. And somehow, that's more devastating than any insult could have been. It's the social media equivalent of a mic drop. And Reese is left looking like the punchline to a joke she didn't even know was being told. She ran a clinic on Angel Reese in the Rose BC last night, and it is hilarious. So, Angel ran her mouth right there about Sabrina this morning. 9:12 a.m., laugh out loud. Sabrina Ionescu right there. Yeah, she crushed them. Watch what you're doing. Little bit like Caitlin Clark, you piss her off, she's gonna crash you. You'd think after a humiliation like that, Reese would lay low for a while. Maybe work on her game, reflect on her attitude. But nope, that's not Angel Reese's style. Instead, she's about to make headlines again during the next night. And trust me, not in a good way. The Rose BC are 1-4. I mean, this team is disastrous. And let us not forget, after the All-Star break, the Chicago sky melted down last year. As the double-double streak rose up out of the ruins. Just when you thought Angel Reese couldn't top her embarrassing performance against Sabrina, she decides to make history. But not in the way you'd expect from a self-proclaimed basketball star. No, Reese is about to etch her name in the unrivaled record books for all the wrong reasons. It's Rose Basketball Club versus Lace's Basketball Club, and Reese is fired up. Maybe a little too fired up. The game's intense from the start, but something's off. You can feel it in the air. Reese is playing like she's got something to prove, but it's not her skills that are about to take center stage. The moment that changes, everything happens in a flash. Reese fouls Tiffany Hayes, but what comes next? That's the real shocker. Reese, in all her wisdom, decides to throw a dismissive wave. At who? The ref? Hayes? It doesn't matter. Because that simple gesture is about to cost her big time. The referee's whistle cuts through the air like a knife. Technical foul. You'd think that would be enough to make Reese cool it, right? Wrong. Instead of backing down, she goes full steam ahead. She's in the ref's face, arguing. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. You want to look away, but you can't. Another whistle, second technical. And just like that, Angel Reese becomes the first player ever ejected from an unrivaled game. Let that sink in for a moment. We didn't even know technicals existed in Unrivaled. In a league that's barely gotten off the ground, Reese has already managed to set a record, just not the kind you'd want on your resume. As Reese starts her walk of shame off the court, Tiffany Hayes can't resist twisting the knife. She's pointing to the exit, a clear message. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. It's a moment of pure schadenfreude for anyone who's ever been annoyed by Reese's antics. But here's the million-dollar question. What does this mean for Reese's future in the league? Is this just a blip on the radar, or the start of a troubling pattern? Because let's face it, getting ejected isn't exactly a great look for someone who's supposed to be the self-proclaimed face of women's basketball. Here's the thing about Angel Reese, she's out of control. That's a recipe for disaster. And right now, it looks like Reese is cooking up a storm of controversy that could overshadow everything else she's achieved. Remember when Angel Reese bragged about people watching women's basketball for her? Well, the numbers are in, and they're telling a different story. Let's talk about Unrivaled's ratings because they're becoming a real head-scratcher. Yeah, the reason why we watch on women's basketball is not just because of one person, it's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that. Picture this. Unrivaled's debut weekend. The hype is real, and the numbers look pretty good. We're talking about 300,000 viewers on average. Not too shabby, right? It's even in line with WNBA games that don't feature Caitlin Clark. TNT's celebrating like they've hit the jackpot, calling it the highest viewed women's basketball games in their network history. But hold up, because that's not saying much. They released the first television numbers TNT did, and they're bragging about them because, well, they're the best they've ever been. Because they've only been once. It's like being the most handsome man at the Dockett's family reunion. It sounds good, but it really doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot. Look, let's be honest, the new women's basketball professional 3-on-3 league, the numbers were released from TNT, and they are not very good. Now, here's where it gets interesting. After that initial buzz wears off, something strange starts happening. The ratings, they're dropping faster than Reese's playing time after that ejection. We're talking a nosedive from 300,000 to barely 100,000 viewers per game. Are you ready for this? That's less than a third of what they started with. What's going on here? Is it the competition? Maybe people are choosing to watch paint dry instead. Is it the time slots? Perhaps they're airing games when everyone's busy watching cat videos. Or is it something else? Maybe someone else. And it's hilarious because it's my understanding now, she keeps telling us, Angel Reese keeps telling us, that it's not just Caitlin Clark, that she's part of this brigade of women's basketball players that are leading all these new viewers into the WNBA. And I think it's these ratings right here that prove the biggest point. This is more statistical data that proves now nobody's tuning in to see Angel Reese. Let's look at the games featuring Angel Reese. Are they drawing more viewers, or are people changing the channel faster than Reese can say, "You can't guard me"? The harsh truth is, Reese's antics aren't translating to viewership. In fact, they might be hurting the league. But wait, there's more to this story. What's the league saying about all this? Alex Basil, Unrivaled's president, is trying to put a positive spin on things. He's talking about how the initial ratings were strong and how they're focusing on quality and building momentum. But with numbers falling faster than Reese's approval rating, you've got to wonder, is he watching the same games we are? We knew TNT would have to do something to try to spin this in some kind of positive direction, and I just don't think there's a way to do it, because Unrivaled, the women's basketball league, the new women's basketball league that we said would be dead on arrival without Caitlin Clark playing in it, was in fact dead on arrival. All right. Let's just say unraveled already. And we just started. Here's the kicker. While live viewership is tanking, social media engagement for Unrivaled is through the roof. We're talking 31 million views of content across platforms during the opening weekend. So people are watching, just not the actual games. It's like everyone's tuning in for the highlight reel but skipping the main event. Now, let's put this in perspective. The WNBA, with Caitlin Clark in the mix, is pulling in over 1 million viewers per game whenever Clark is on the screen. Even without Clark, they're averaging around 400,000 per game. Unrivaled, they're not even in the same league, literally and figuratively. The funniest part about these ratings that they've put out, I mean, God, TNT Sports must be dizzy with the level of spin they're trying to give this thing. And Front Office Sports tried to spin it too. Now, the ratings are bad. But here's where it gets wild. The solution to Unrivaled's viewership woes might not be about Reese or ratings at all. There's a game-changing factor on the horizon that could flip everything we thought we knew about women's basketball leagues. What is it? You won't believe it when you find out. The fallout from Angel Reese's antics is hitting Unrivaled like a freight train, and everyone's got something to say about it. Let's dive into the reactions, because they're as wild as Reese's on-court behavior. In fact, the viewership actually dropped between the first game and the second game from last Friday, the debut of Unrivaled. Now, why is that significant? Angel Reese played in the second game and they lost viewers from the first game. Now, once again, tell me how you're moving the needle, because people literally tuned out when your game came on. First up, the fans. They're not holding back. Social media is buzzing with comments ranging from "they cheated you" to calls for Reese to leave the league altogether. It's like watching a tennis match with opinions flying back and forth faster than Reese's airballs. But it's not just the fans. Even NBA players are weighing in. Draymond Green, known for his own on-court antics, couldn't stomach what he was seeing. He reportedly turned off the game, saying the quality of play was just too low. When Draymond Green thinks you're being too much, you know you've crossed the line. And what about Unrivaled officials? They're in full-on panic mode. Picture a bunch of suits running around with their hair on fire, trying to figure out how to salvage this mess. They're probably wishing they could eject Reese from the league as easily as she got ejected from that game. Speaking of ejections, let's talk about that tweet. After getting tossed, Reese took to Twitter with a simple, "Free me." 2 words that spoke volumes. Was she calling out the refs, the league, or maybe she's asking to be freed from her own reputation? Either way, it's not a good look. And later she added, "Can't wait to get back to Chicago, man." But does Chicago want her back? That's the real mystery. But here's where it gets really interesting. Angel Reese, the self-proclaimed queen of trash talk, has gone silent. No more boasting, no more predictions, just nothing. And in this case, her silence is deafening. It's like she's finally realized that her actions have consequences, and those consequences are hitting hard. The consensus among analysts is clear. Something's gotta give. Whether it's benching Reese, cutting her loose, or a complete overhaul of the league's approach, change needs to happen. And it needs to happen fast, because right now, Unrivaled is looking less like a professional basketball league and more like a reality TV show gone wrong. TNT drug its feet on getting these ratings out. I mean, again, the marketing spin they're trying to put on this is hilarious. TNT finally released the first television numbers for Unrivaled, the new women's professional 3-on-3 basketball league, and they aren't very good. Of course, TNT tried to spin the numbers. It's strong. But the facts state the obvious. No Caitlin Clark means no large audiences. But let's zoom out for a second. What does all this mean for women's basketball as a whole? Are Reese's antics and Unrivaled struggles going to set the sport back? Or could this be a wake-up call? pushing leagues to focus on quality play and professionalism rather than drama and trash talk. As the dust settles on Angel Reese's unrivaled disaster, one thing's crystal clear. Talent alone isn't enough. Reese's journey is a wake-up call for young athletes everywhere. It's not just about how well you play, but how you carry yourself on and off the court. For Unrivaled and women's basketball, the message couldn't be louder. Fans aren't here for drama or trash talk. They want skill, determination, and professionalism. Just look at Caitlin Clark drawing millions of viewers. That's what people tune in for. Now, the ball's in Reese's court. Can she turn things around? Or is this the beginning of the end for her unrivaled run?